in relation to fall hazards, there is a hierarchy that is prescribed in the regulations. And people are required to look at higher order controls like passive controls, passive protection in relation to fall prevention before they look at other more lower order controls like fall arrest equipment and administrative controls. They've got to be done in combination, but there is a prescribed hierarchy by which you must look at those issues. Now, in that context, fall prevention has been singled out in the regulations as something that is so significant that it must be dealt with comprehensively. And in that way, it is different from other risks that haven't been singled out in that way. It all forms part of your duty of care, but it is such an important risk that the regulators thought it was fitting that there will be a special provision in relation to it. Well, if you don't follow the hierarchy in the order that it is set down in the regulations, you don't comply with the regulations, and you're technically in breach of the regulations. There are consequences associated with breach of the regulations. Usually, practically, that's enforced by way of either improvement notices or prohibition notices and or prosecutions for breach of your duty of care. It's going to be very hard to say, I have complied with my duty of care if you haven't complied with the order that is prescribed under the regulations. Because at the end of the day, there is some logic behind that order. That order is about reducing the risk as far as reasonably practicable. It's about putting long-lasting controls, putting things in place that will ensure that you're not relying on mere compliance by employees or people simply doing the right thing. We know historically that people make mistakes. It's not unusual for people to make mistakes. This is not some kind of news event or newsworthy event that people will make errors at work. Of course they do. There are a number of reasons why they would. Fatigue, they might be distracted, that they've got things on their mind. So relying simply on people doing the right thing is hardly a very effective system in the circumstances, which is why the legislation forces you to follow a hierarchy. That hierarchy is designed to rely less and less on people doing the right thing and more on systems that are foolproof, that prevent people from hurting themselves despite being distracted or despite being momentarily careless. That's the beauty of the design of the legislation. That is how the legislation tries to take such a critical issue that has contributed to so many fatalities over the years and make it an issue that is well managed in organisations.